In today's episode of the Hexagon Challenge, it's the end of the season. Are we still on the hunt for a Ligue title, or have PSG snatched it away from us? Let's find out. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Hexagon Challenge here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well. A quick reminder that if you are looking forward to today's episode, then please go down below, hit a thumbs up, and if you are new around here and enjoy what you see, then also hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on, all that good YouTube stuff. So, last episode we played the Coupe de France final against Lyon. We snuck out of it with a win on penalties, a game that didn't really kick into life until about extra time. I will leave a link in the top right if you have not checked out that episode. The penalty shootout was definitely worthwhile drama-wise anyway. And off the back of that, Ligue 1, we were in a situation where we were 5 points behind PSG with about 4 games to play, I believe it was, albeit PSG had a game in hand. So there was the opportunity there that if PSG slipped up that we could overtake them. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through a few highlights to build up the suspense, and then we'll let you guys know what happened. So our first game was against Nîmes Olympique. We picked up a 1-0 win here, away from home. It took us until the 54th minute to get our goal. Mulder on the ball here, Dembele putting a nice ball over, Gabriel Fernandes on the end of it, and that was the goal. A bit of a spark out of nothing to get the goal, albeit you look at the stats, and we did dominate this game. Nîmes did very little, so we did deserve the win here, it felt like, so that was a good result to start things off. Then off the back of that, we took on Lille at home. We won't show you guys the highlights from this game because it was literally just a second-minute penalty to Edmund Tapsoba, and that was it. We'll look at the stats so quickly, and you can see that once again, very dominant, but as you can see, second-minute penalty. Otherwise, very wasteful with our chances. 3 XG, albeit that jumped up quite a bit thanks to the penalty early on. But again, we really did dominate. And again, not as much reward for that dominance as I would like. But we got the 3 points and that was the main thing. And then off the back of that, we managed to beat Brest again. 2-0 away from home. And there's a corker of a goal here. And it is this first one. 38th minute. Gabriel Fernandes getting the ball from Mulder. He finds Tessier. Thunderbolt from outside the box, top right corner. That's going to be in goal of the season discussion. And then not long after that, Enrique slotted Dembele through somewhat fortunately. Not sure what the Brest defence were doing there. And we had a 2-0 lead by half-time. And that is how things stayed. Not as dominant a performance as the games prior, but shots on target wise, they had none. We had 6. So good to see our goal scoring efficiency getting back up anyway. But unfortunately, by this point, PSG had got the points they needed to wrap up the title. So there is no game today, I'm afraid, guys. We did play Amiens just before this recording that I'm doing. Did it before I went to work this morning. With the title already out of reach, we were already sealed to be second position. And we bet them 4-1 at home to round out the season. It was a really good performance to end the season on, though, to be fair to us. Flavio Enrique kicking things off in the 25th minute. A lovely ball from Gabriel Fernandes. Sumptuous stuff from him. And we got the 1-0 lead. Not long after that, Fernandes was on the ball yet again. Put a ball over for Dembele and got it on the volley off a bounce on the ground. Somehow got that past the keeper near post. And Hudson-Odoi came on briefly in the second half. Got a free kick. Not sure what Hula's doing there. We got an 89th penalty, 2 taps over. It was very similar to the one he scored in the Lille game. And then very late on, we were just caught at 6s and 7s here from this rollout from Gordon. And we just sort of weren't in defensive shape, it's fair to say. Bakayoko getting a goal, a consolation goal it was for Amiens. A 4-1 win. And we ended the season really well. But you look at Ligue 1, and as you can see, Amiens actually could still stay in the division. So they are in the relegation playoff. You can see we finished on 96 points, which is actually a club record in Ligue 1. So we did have a really good season. Unfortunately, those 2 losses to PSG, you switch that 6-point difference around, it would have been a completely different season. But we lost those games to PSG and they went invincible, which feels weird to say considering we bet them 5-0 in the Coupe de France semi-final not that long ago. But they are the champions of France yet again, PSG. We are a distant second. 25 points in front of Lens, who get the other Champions League spot. And then in the Europa League, Brest and Lyon with Lille getting into the Conference League just ahead of Marseille, Rennes and Reims. Bit of a mid-table jam it is, all the way down to Caen. It was a really competitive league. You sort of look at the teams who might have been in that relegation fight. You can sort of go 12th down to 17th in the end. They were all very close together. And then we have Amiens in the playoff just ahead of Guingamp on goal difference. They are relegated, as well as Nantes, who were relegated a long time ago. So that is the season. What we're going to do today is the end of season review. We've got our transfer budget and we'll run over a few areas we're looking to improve. I kind of want to see how well this team will do in the Champions League, because I feel they earn that right based on their league on performance. But we did get knocked out in the Europa League quarterfinals as well, we've got to remember. And it was to a team who didn't actually end up winning the Europa League. We'll go over all that stuff soon. We'll do a big European roundup, as it's the first time I've remembered that we can actually do a European roundup, because we didn't do this last season, mainly because we were in the Europa League, and it's not as exciting when you're in the Europa League. Doing a decent Champions League roundup now that we're going to be in it next season seems like a bit of a better idea. So we've got the season review. I haven't looked at this yet, so we'll see what happens. I have no idea who's got goal of the year or player of the year or anything like that. So there are the two trophies we won. Of course, the Coupe de France, second time in a row when we've been at the club, and the third time for the club overall. And we also picked up the Trophée des Champions at the start of the season over PSG as well. So 2-2 against PSG this year, but they did do us in Ligue, which is a little bit unfortunate. So transfer-wise, the new arrivals. So we've got these set out by ratings. The star transfer in signing of the season was Amin Ghali. To be fair, I can understand that. 23 games, 12 goals with 8 assists. Honestly, feel like Quintero's been a bit hard done by there. Less appearances. A lot of his came off the bench as well. But 27 goals and 8 assists. Less appearances than Gary. I think he deserves signing of the season, if we're being honest. Both for a similar fee as well. A couple of players who came in out on loan. We've got Nyanzu, who played a big role in the first team, 95 million. Look, we probably overpaid for him, but he was very good in the air and did get 3 goals thanks to that. And then we've got more players out on loan. Gabriel Fernandes, of course, we bought in here, a very good season, 28 games, 8 off the bench, 11 goals, 11 assists. Legs all over the place for him. And apart from that, Juan Sariano got a couple of appearances late in the season when Goron was out injured for a little while around those Europa League quarter-finals a couple of episodes ago. Kept a couple of clean sheets, so we can't complain about him too much. And then a lot of players who are out on loan. Aquaviva went out on loan in the second half of the season. He's a player I'm looking forward to hopefully stepping up next season. We've got a few more players out on loan, so yes, and a couple more. So pretty good deals we've done this season. It felt like the players that we let go, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he left us mid-season. Gelson Martin started the season, as did Lucas Gomez. Nicola Morrow we got rid of at the start of the season, and also Denier left on a free, and a few of these other players we sold for peanuts as they were in the second team. Zubanovic we actually got some decent coin for as a second team player, and a couple of others left us on free transfers or for very little players with not much potential, but we did have some money coming to the club to offset mainly our wage budget. That was what we were worried about the most. But yeah, in the end we've got a pretty good squad here at the end of the season, it feels like. So hopefully we can keep that sort of stuff up. And here's all the players who left us on loan. A few of these players haven't actually joined the club properly yet, because we bought them and they've gone straight back out on loan. But we've got some really talented players here, and some of them will be stepping up next season. The names that come to mind mostly are Aquaviva, and also when we look at transfers, and Almeida is probably a player who will be featuring next season. Perhaps not starting either of those players, but they should get quite a few appearances off the bench. There's the Coupe de France review. We drew the final, but apart from that, we had a bit of a scratchy win first up, much like what happened last season against the Championship National team. But after that, we really did cruise it, including that wonderful 5-0 win over PSG in that double header from a few episodes ago. Unfortunately, we could not back that up in Ligue 1, but it was a very nice win, and it really did set us up for the final. Even though we didn't play that well, we got the job done. In terms of the Trophée des Champions, that was a one-off game at the start of the season, the French Community Shield, a 2-1 win over PSG there. So those were our 2 wins over Paris Saint-Germain. Ligue 1 second as we ran over. Look, we had a really good season. Our only losses coming to PSG. But you can see around midway through, there's a couple of orange dots that pop up, and they're against teams that we couldn't really afford to be drawing with, the likes of Strasbourg, Sochaux, Montbéliard, Lille, Caen and Nice back-to-back. That was a frustrating period. And we also had Guingamp. Once we suffered that loss to PSG off the back of the Coupe de France semi-final win, then we kicked into gear and we won our remaining 10 games on the bounce. So we really did bounce back well from that. But unfortunately, PSG just too good, as you would expect from a team who, for most of the season, were the defending Champions League holders, albeit they are not now. And our Europa League, this was the big disappointment for us. You can see our group stage, we absolutely bossed it. The only team that really gave us a bit of trouble were Rangers, albeit that last game we did rotate the squad a bit because we'd already qualified top. And then we took on Real Sociedad in the second knockout round. We were able to get them 5-3 on aggregate, those away goals proving crucial. But unfortunately, away goals would be the difference against Inter Milan. They picked up one in the first leg and we did nothing in the second. So we got knocked out after 2 draws with them. So we were one stage short of where the board wanted us to go. They wanted us in the semi-finals. Inter Milan, at the time they were first in Serie A. We'll have to see whether that remained the case, but they're a pretty good team to be at that stage of the Europa League, it's fair to say. So the board a little bit disappointed. I mean, a D, so it's not a great rating, but as you can see, they understand we had a difficult draw. So hopefully we'll get away with that. In terms of our biggest win, it was against Ural. I'll leave a link to the video above. It was a bit of a training run, it's fair to say. I was hoping for more from our first Europa League game, but we got that. Instead, the match to remember, the Coupe de France one against PSG. I've probably already linked that above already, but that was a wonderful game where Flavio Henrique got 4 goals and we decimated the League of Champions. And goal of the season came in the second Ural game, and apparently it was Fernandez. So we'll go and have a look at that. And here it is in the snow. Alvaro Fernandez. He gets the ball laid off to him from Gabriel Fernandez. It's a wonderful strike, isn't it? On an angle from outside the box. We scored a few like that this season, to be fair. So a couple of ones that could have challenged for that position, but they've given it to Alvaro Fernandez. Our reputation stays the same. It's still continental. Hopefully getting in the Champions League now, we might be able to boost this up. Our sponsorship has gone up. Everything's gone up except for broadcast revenue, which is a bit strange considering we made it further in the Europa League compared to what we did last season. And apart from that, we were pretty much better in every other competition. So not sure how that's happened broadcast revenue-wise, but next season that should be going up as we're in the Champions League group stage. And everything else went up as well, so we're looking good in terms of our monetary situation. And Henrique, Quintero, Agume, Dembele and Ampadu in the top shirt sellers. I was going to say should all be first team regulars next season, but of course Henrique and Quintero battling for the same position, and that's a wonderful position to be in. We've got 2 very good strikers. This is our best 11 according to this end of season review. Gourlon, Tessier, Tapsoba, Sevillano over Nianzou. That's a very interesting decision. Not sure I agree with that considering the amount of game time they had, albeit Sevillano when he did play was very good. Fernandez at left back as well over Mert Mulder. Interesting. Ampadu, Agume and Puig in the midfield. None of them having great ratings, and that's something we'll discuss soon, but it was our main midfield for all season pretty much, so I can understand why they're in there. Dembele, Amin Gaudi, that's interesting. We were chopping and changing our left wingers quite a bit between him, Gabriel Fernandez, so Gary got the nod, and he probably, I suppose, gets in there because he got signing of the season as well. And of course, Flavio Henrique up front, 37 games, 7 off the bench, 30 goals, 12 assists. I imagine he might be player of the season, but it's Ousmane Dembele who gets player of the season. So there you go. Did have a wonderful season. Lots of assists, as you can see, 16 for him. Young player of the season, Flavio Henrique. Gaudi, signing of the season. Goal of the season, Fernandez, as we saw before. Top scorer, Henrique with 30 goals. Dembele with the assists. Most player of the matches, Flavio Henrique. So that's why I was leaning towards him actually as player of the season. Highest average rating, though, did go to Dembele, so that's probably where he gets it. And the most passes completed per 90 minutes was actually Marko Stamenic. So that's interesting. Most clean sheets by a player in a season for the club overall. Mikhail Gourlon, 35. That's a beastly performance. And those are the club awards, competition awards. You can see there's a few interesting ones here. Best under 21 men's player in the world. Flavio Henrique, according to FIFA. The Brazilian best European-based player. The League of Foreign Player of the Year. The Brazilian Olympic Committee Footballer of the Year. All going to Flavio Henrique. You can see why I thought he was going to get Player of the Year, can't you? And also the Next Gen Award actually went to Edwin Quintero. So both of our strikers picking up a lot of awards this season, mainly Henrique. But in terms of overall meaning, that Next Gen one is a good way to spot future stars. So Quintero. Nice for him to be getting that. And there's the history in the making, but not sure why they're not showing our Trophy de Champions one in one of the tiles here. And in terms of the league, we finished where we were expected to. And after last season, when we had to get them up from 10th to 4th in the end, just missing out on Champions League, it was good to have a nice solid campaign this season and pretty much lock us into Champions League football fairly early, really, because we always had that big gap on third after about the first 15 or so games of the season, and we were trying to challenge PSG for the title, as I said, but it didn't quite come off. Look, we gave it a hell of a crack, and we're going to have some money to only improve the squad next season, so hopefully we can keep going as we get through some of these items. Now, we've got the best 11, actually, who we can show you guys. I've already gone through this off camera. Mert Mulder's been added to the first 11. Apparently he's the only one who's been added, but I'm pretty sure Flavio Henrique wasn't there last season. I can't honestly remember, so this is the team that they are going with. Mulder, Tapsoba, Ampadu and Goron are our players. They've still got Angelino at left back and Mandragora at CDM. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is there. He left us during the season, but was okay for us. His wage and non-EU issues were the reason we let him go mainly, but he was a good player for us. Ricky Puig, our current captain, in there, and we've got Hudson Odoi on the left wing, Volland on the right wing, Flavio Henrique up top. So a fair few of our players in there now. You can also see the likes of Dembele on the bench. He's the only current squad member on the bench, and I'd imagine he'd be working his way towards taking one of these winger spots at the end of next season, albeit he is starting to get on now at 31 years old. So we'll start looking forward to next season. Club Vision and Expectations meeting. They've added back in that they want us to sign high reputation players. They got rid of that this season, so it's interesting that they've brought that back. I might try and talk them out of that, but otherwise the rest of these look pretty good. They think that we've got the best youth system in the world. I'm not so sure about that based on youth intakes, but we're at a pretty high level, so if we can produce players with those sort of wonder kid taglines, then I suppose we're doing all right, and we've got a few of those at the moment, like so Remain Ledger in the squad. They want us to again qualify for the Champions League, which is okay. I can handle that. I'd like to challenge PSG for the title a little bit more than we did this year. I mean, we had a heck of a season, as I said. Whether we can is going to be interesting, but I'd like to close that gap a little bit on them. And they want us to get out of our group, essentially, in the Champions League. That seems very fair. And from next season, they want us to start really building up to winning Ligue consistently. Whether we're still here is a different issue, but I think we're happy with that. We'll try and get rid of that high reputations player one because I don't like it, and they got rid of it, which is nice. I suppose we could have almost got away with that, considering we've already signed Marcus Llorente on a free. He probably counts as a high reputation signing, but the high reputation players are just worth so much that it's not really worth that being in the thing. You can get wonder kids for a lot cheaper, or at least young promising players, not necessarily all wonder kids, but that's what we will look to do anyway. And again, they want us to spend that whole transfer budget, which is nice. We can splash the cash, albeit probably won't have to improve as many areas as we have the last couple of times we have been doing this at Monaco over the last season and a half that we have been here. Squad dynamics, everyone good. Ricky Puig, Ampadu and Tapsoba players that we probably can't afford to let go. That's going to be interesting to see. I've got some plans for the midfield, as I said, so we'll talk about that. Now, we've got an end-of-season team meeting. This could go terribly, so we'll see what happens here. Okay, I say we want to challenge for the title because that's an improvement from this year. So we'll try and say that. Come on, boys, what do you think? I have nothing to say, Romain Ledger. That wasn't as inspirational as I was hoping, but they are pleased, so I suppose that works. But I've nothing to say is an interesting thing to say, Romain, to be honest. Yeah, I suppose that was the direction I was after. We'll be aiming to reach the knockout stages of the Champions League. That's sensible. Okay, that's a bit more constructive, Flavio. Thank you for that. Take notes, Romain, sorry, maybe that's why he's not listening to me properly. I can't even say his name properly. Promises for next season. Do we want to do this? I think we will because we're going to improve the midfield. I might be alone in thinking this, but I'm not bothered about that promise. Well, cheers, Flavio. I'll tell you what, this isn't going great. To be fair, these team meetings don't do. I think that's enough promises for now. So we've done our meeting. On the whole, slightly positive, so I suppose that's good. We've got through that, and it hasn't resulted in a train wreck, so that's probably the best thing that we can get out of that team report. So this is what we're going to be going into. If we look at our assistant report, this is what we're looking at. You can see we've got a lot of green here. Decisions, defender depth, good player partnerships. We're good from through balls. Technically, our work rate, acceleration pace. I won't go through all of these because some of them are the same. But in general, we've got a very nice core here that we can build around, and hopefully we can keep it going. Their first 11 that they're suggesting here is a bit, you're not sure about it, but especially the midfield. As I said, we've got some players coming in already, and I'm looking to bring more in for that, so that will be nice. We've still got a bit of wage budget and transfer, that won't last long. So we've got a lot of greens in our strengths, and in terms of our weaknesses, aerial ability, well, if you're starting Sevillano over Nianzou, that's probably why that's the case. And I've also got Ampadu at centre-back, so you bring Tapsoba back in, and I think that changes that a little bit with their suggested best 11. Not much youth prospects, I'd argue against that. Got eccentric goalkeepers, that quality depth, that's something that we're looking to improve as well, and hopefully we've already done so because we've made some free transfers there. Look, on the whole, I think we're pretty good, to be fair. Some of these weaknesses I think we can sort out by just changing what they've got their best 11 at. So I think we're okay with that. End of season break, 26th of June, so we've got a month off and we can decide where we're going on a training camp. Right, they want to go Switzerland. We can either do that, Belgium, the USA or China. Now, I kind of want to go stateside personally. Maybe it's just me, but I kind of like the idea of playing some interesting teams in America. So I think we're going to go there. We'll do America, see how good the MLS teams are. Maybe keep an eye on a couple of jobs that might open up in that league. We'll see. We've had a look at the team report team, and I'm just going to quickly check that this is the team who I would have starting all the games. It is. So this is our first 11 in my eyes at the moment. I'm actually really happy with most of it. Nianzou for Sevillano possibly, but as I said earlier, I actually really like Nianzou's heading. That's why he's in the team over Sevillano. Whether that maintains considering how they performed this year. Overall form, not much between them. Recently, Sevillano a lot better, but I think Nianzou's good for what we've got him for. We bought him because of that good heading ability that he has. If we click on his profile, 16 heading, 17 jumping reach, he is a very good, and at only 25 years old, is going to be a very good solid option for us for a while. We've got good ratings across most of the board. Gabriel Fernandez is a player who will improve because he's just got that about him. Our wingers are fluctuating quite a bit in terms of their star ratings, and it's mainly because of injuries. I think this guy's the guy that we do go with. The other option is we could put Enrique on the left wing and Quintero up top, but I'd rather keep them as specialised strikers. I feel like Enrique hasn't done as well when he's gone out on the wing, so maybe we'll leave it at that, and if either of them go out of form, we can always swap them around. They're fairly interchangeable, it feels like now, Enrique and Quintero. The midfield's interesting. I like Ampadu, I like Agume. Puig's probably been the most inconsistent of our performers. Ampadu, not overly great either. Agume, I'm actually happy with his average rating, 7.0. Not bad, but the other two players have just been a bit below what I expected of them this season. Ampadu, we could put him at centre-back, but he's not the greatest header. So I feel like he is really good in that CDM role, and quality-wise, he should be good there. So I'm going to stick with Ampadu. Puig is the one I'm looking at getting rid of in terms of this first 11, I should say. I'm not looking at selling him, but it's an interesting one because we've said this a few times when we looked at his stats. For the role that Puig plays, this advanced playmaker on support, I don't know if you're going to get many better than him. The only stat that is really bad, I say really bad, it's still not terrible, but it's teamwork, and everything else that he does advanced playmaker-wise is superb. So he does suit that role, but he's been very up and down for me this season, so it feels like maybe we should be upgrading there. So that is the one position that is probably most under threat. Goron in goal, I do like. He's still got a bit of potential. He's actually got quite a bit of potential. I feel like we need to stick with him. He's still young, and he did a very good job for us this season. So really, in terms of our first team, it's probably Puig's position that's most under threat. So that's the one that we're going to look at in the transfer window. I feel like mostly we'll be getting some young players in around there who can really kick on for us, as well as another couple of good midfielders maybe, and if players leave, we might bring some more in just to keep that squad depth nice, but not a window that I'm looking to do a heck of a lot of business in, albeit we obviously do need to actually improve based on what we did this season in the Europa League if we're going to match it in the Champions League. So I feel like we're not going to do many transfers, but if offers come in for players that are ridiculous, that could change. So in terms of players we have got coming in, we'll go through them now. So Barlas is a player that we signed ages ago, a couple of transfer windows ago, but because of age, he isn't joining us until the upcoming one. Not as good as I thought he would be when we did sign him, but he still looks decent enough. He's got a bit of potential. Worst comes to worst, he'll be a second team player for a 3 and a bit million. Probably won't rise to what we agreed it would, but that's a decent transfer to add depth to our goalkeepers and at least young age. So our goalkeepers at the moment behind Goron are very old. Maybe we can put those guys in the second team and bring some young guys in like Barlas and Golubowski, who we have signed on a free from Bayern Munich, who is currently on loan at Gladbach. You look at him for a free transfer and a backup goalkeeper. Really like the look of him. Not sure about their overall potential, but should be pretty good. So I'm quite happy to get him on board. As I said, some young goalkeepers. Maybe we might look at loaning a couple out. I'm not entirely sure, but we do have a lot of goalkeepers in the squad now, and that was an area where we were really thin a while ago, so it's good to have that. We've also pinched some young players off Lyon. They've got a really good youth system, and I've spent a little bit of cash on some youth players already. Kylian Renault is a centre-back, has a fair bit of potential about him for around that $10 million mark. I like the look of him at 16. He's already got that 1.5-star ability, but can definitely grow. And if we can get him training what we want him to train early, I really like the look of him. So he's going to come in for $9 million it was. We've got a decent deal out of him, I feel like. We're hopefully going to be signing Mustafa Bar from Liverpool on a free transfer. That is in the works. He is English, but also has some Sierra Leonean in him. So he won't be EU, which is nice. Won't be featuring the first team first up anyway, but centre-back wise, he's decent hitting, very good jumping reach. And at 19 years old, another player that we can improve. At the very least, we're getting him on a free, so maybe we can turn him over for some profit. So he looks like a decent pickup on a free. As I said, he's been at Salford, obviously, but belongs to Liverpool. Then we've got midfielders. So Marcus Llorente, we've talked about a little bit already. 33 years old from Real Madrid, coming in on a free. Big wage, but I like him. He's pretty good in most areas. If we actually look at him in that advanced playmaker role, it will be interesting to see. His dribbling's not great, so he's probably not as suited there as Puig, but he's at least going to be a very good bench option for us. So happy to have him on board. How long he lasts at 33 years old, we'll see, but good player to have on the bench at the very least. He might even sneak into the first team. We'll see how we go. We've got Nam Kang-hyun, who's joining us from the Suwon Blue Wings in South Korea. 1.2 million we've spent on him. Another young prospect who we're going to get in the mix, possibly loan back out, but you can see some of his stats already at 18 years old. Happy to have him on board. He looks a really good player, and especially for that price, I like the look of him. You look at his potential, could definitely go quite high, so he is a decent looking signing. And the other player coming in, don't ignore those out deals because we've rejected those, is Stanislas Robert, the other player that we've got in from Lyon. Our scouts really like this guy. It might be another Tessier sort of signing this one. He's going to take a while to develop, I feel, into a first team option. He won't be a striker for us. His finishing is not good enough. That needs to improve. But in terms of a winger, he's got some pretty good stats. His dribbling's really nice. His first touch, he's very technical. Good off the ball movement. Got a bit of pace about him. Like the look of him. You can see his potential is very high. He wanted to leave the club, and we've picked him up for a decent price there in 10 million. He was one for 10 million. So we've given Lyon a bit of money, but we've stolen two of their best young prospects because of it. So we do have a lot of players coming to the club already, but I would consider none of them to be real first team straight in there, sort things out for us. So, as I said, the one area we probably want to improve is the midfield. Now, the obvious name that pops out here for money and ability is Mauricio from Brazil. And he is actually really good in the advanced playmaker role. So this is an option we have. He doesn't like big matches though, and there's a few cons with him. He's non-EU. He's not very adaptable. He probably wants a high fee. To be fair, I can cop that because he's a really good player. I'm a little bit iffy on him, just that doesn't like big matches for a guy who's going to be playing Champions League football regularly for us. I might still get him, but that just turns me off a little bit. So he would be the obvious option, if not for that caveat that he's got there. So in terms of other options, we've got David Ayala, who is also non-EU, but similar age, going to cost us a little bit more. But if we look at him as an advanced playmaker, he's quite similar to Puig, in fact. So is it worth getting him in? Our scouts like him. He's kind of the opposite to Mauricio, the Brazilian. He actually enjoys big matches. He's quite versatile, adapts to a new country well. He might be the guy that we actually go for. But in terms of stats, I don't like him as much as Mauricio. So Ayala or Mauricio, they're the obvious ones. And then there's a few in behind that who we could go for. But a lot of these guys are actually at silly money, it feels like. Gareth Roberts is a guy I've been looking at. We're still waiting for an overall scout report on this guy, but in fact we've got a little bit more information about him since we last saw him when I looked at him. You can see he's very promising. He's also part Irish, so he is EU, which is quite good. But look, I think Mauricio or Ayala are better than him. So it'll be interesting to see. You can see a few clubs want him, Arsenal and Barcelona. Stat-wise, I would really like Mauricio. It's just that doesn't like big matches that has me a little bit worried about him. So, yeah, otherwise, you look at his stats, I mean, he looks just wonderful. He's good in most areas. If we compare Mauricio to, first off, Ayala a bit better rounded, I think it's fair to say. Not as good attacking or vision-wise, and that's, to be fair, the role we probably have him. But if we look at them in the current midfield role that we've got Puig, I've counted up those key attributes that are highlighted, and Mauricio beats him out by 6 overall, albeit one of the ones that's really done him there is Flair. But apart from that, they are quite even. I'm tempted to go Mauricio, but that doesn't like big matches is bugging me, which is a bit of an issue, and he's wanted by Arsenal and Barcelona, so we might be in for a fight for him. I know, he just looks like he might be a bit better going forward, and that's probably the role we're going to be using him in, and he is going to be cheaper than Ayala as well, so currently that's the area we're really looking to improve. I think one of these two probably. Look, smarts say I should be getting Ayala, stats say I should be getting Mauricio, so I'm not too sure which way I'm going to go yet. Also, you've got to remember that Ayala report, scout-wise, is very old compared to the Mauricio one, so that's going to be a bit more up to date. Not sure. So that is it for today's episode. Apart from the job centre, we're going to have a quick look at this. I have opened up the leagues that are available. I'm not looking at jobs in all these leagues. It's just that I noticed throughout the season that a few MLS jobs were coming up and weren't showing on my job centre. So that was a bit frustrating because even though I'm a bit iffy on the MLS rules, that is one that could help us with the North American Champions League. So I've opened it back up just to see a few more jobs. The Victory, probably do that after Europe, if I'm honest. But now that we're in Europe, I really want to take this one off before we perhaps steadily work our way back down. The Victory are a decent team in the A-League, but at the moment, they're not. So, and it's actually mirroring in real life at the moment too. They're currently last in the A-League, so they've actually nailed that one quite well. Have SI with the Melbourne Victory, but not going to be changing continents for them. Burnley in the Premier League, too low. Eredivisie, Liga MX, Tigres, they're a team that come up often. They should be doing better than they are, but I don't know about them. Like they're not in the North American Champions League at the moment, and they're probably going to struggle to get there, so that's probably another one we'll leave. There is a chance that after I record this, a lot of jobs could come up with managers resigning, and that's something we will keep an eye on. Sevilla are pretty average in this save. They're a team that you possibly consider in most other saves, but in this one, they're down in 13th at the end of the season, and season preview-wise this year, they weren't expected to finish much above that, so that would be a downgrade. At the moment, every job available is a downgrade, but we will keep an eye out on those. Before we go as well, we'll run through the top divisions, Europa League and Champions League, just to let you guys know who won those. So in this save, very tight at the top of the Premier League. Chelsea by a single point. They beat Liverpool late on, I believe they did, and that helped them get a win. In the Premier League, Liverpool 1 point behind Southampton. That job came up last season. We opted to stay at Monaco. They were really close to the Premier League, so maybe we should have gone with that one, but they've done well. We will be seeing them perhaps in the Champions League along with Manchester City as well. We go to La Liga. Barcelona cakewalked it, as you probably would have seen before when we looked at that Sevilla job. Valencia second. Fair way back to Real Madrid in third and Atletico Madrid in fourth. So Valencia, a team that we might have to keep an eye out on. Just remembering they are a bit better in this game than they are in real life, with all due respect. Serie A, there's actually still one match week to go, and to take on Napoli, Juventus, Parma. So I know who I'm favouring based on that, but it is still up for grabs, and Roma could still be in the mix here too, taking on an already relegated team. So it's a wide open affair in terms of the title, with Lazio rounding out the Champions League teams. And then in the Bundesliga, once we get to the league table, Bayern Munich were champions, albeit on goal difference over Hertha Berlin. So they've only just snuck it, with Leipzig and Dortmund rounding out the Champions League spot. So those are the main leagues. We'll have a quick look at the continental competitions. The Europa League final is between Valencia and Celtic. It's not far away. We'll look at the semi-finals because we got knocked down in the quarters. You can see Valencia 4-3 on aggregate over Inter. A really good away display from them. And then Celtic 3-1 over Napoli. So they are a lot better than I gave them credit for earlier in the year, to be fair. And then we look at the Champions League, and it will be an English final between Chelsea and Manchester United, two of the past three Champions League winners. PSG nowhere to be seen this year. As I said, they got knocked out in the first knockout round. Man United getting past Dortmund and Chelsea past City in the semi-finals. I'll quickly flick through these. Barcelona, Lyon, Liverpool and Bayern Munich being chucked out in the quarters. And as I said in the first knockout, Hertha, PSG, Marseille, Lazio, Club Brugge, Atletico Madrid, Leipzig and Juventus all dipped out at that stage. When we come back for the start of the new season, which probably will be again a Trophy des Champions game against PSG, but we do have the carrot of Champions League football to look forward to next season, which should be very good. That is, of course, unless a really good job comes up. So if that happens, I'll be back sooner than I anticipate. But if you did enjoy today's episode, not much gameplay, I'm afraid, but there wasn't really any need to with that title already wrapped up, then please do leave a thumbs up down below. And if you do enjoy the content and are looking forward to the new season, also smack that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on so you guys are informed when it does start. But thank you very much for watching. I will see you at the start of next season. Keep on keeping on. Cheers.